if you could create a listening culture that elevates the employee experience inside your organization. In my new Cycle Listening Action Planning Guide, I uncover how you can ensure those you lead feel heard by taking 3 key approaches to listening at work. Get the free guide at heatheryounger.com today. Hello, everybody. It's Heather with the Leadership with Heart podcast. And today I'm thrilled. I have Cindy Baier on. And she is the CEO of Brookdale Senior Living. And it is a brand, I'm not going to lie to you, for probably 25 years, I've watched from afar and really admired the brand and what it stood for in the kind of senior living space. And many years ago, and this is kind of a funny little twist before I really bring her on, many years ago, I worked in an organization that would basically assign physical therapists and speech pathologists on site, and they were a brand. And so they were a client of mine in this interesting way. And so anyway, when I saw the name come over, I was like, absolutely, I'm absolutely going to have you on. So welcome, Cindy.
Heather, thank you so much for having me. And I love the fact that you already know our brand and have a personal connection to it.
Absolutely. Yep. I think in my mind, it's called Leadership with the Heart. And if I don't have a connection to the heart of the person that's coming on and what they do, I don't really want to talk to them. So that's where we're at now. So where are you right now? Tell us where you are in your leadership journey.
Heather, I'm a work in process. I think that we all say that we're a work in process because if we're not learning and growing, we're definitely regressing. And so I have a lot of experience, and yet I have a lot of learning yet to do.
Gosh, isn't that so true? I tell you, if people that listen to this show know that I believe in that we're work in progress. And then I don't believe in perfection. In fact, seeking it is a little futile, but trying to get better every day is really even the point of our conversation today. And so I'm appreciative that you're open to that. So, okay, those who report to you, those who are in the organization at Brookdale, how would they describe you as a leader? How would they, in their words, what would you think they would say about you?
Look, as a leader of a large organization, there are certainly a lot of different perspectives, but what I think people say about me is that I have high standards and expectations, that I'm firm, but I'm fair and compassionate. And I think that he would also say that I'm really very passionate about the mission. And so I lead with my heart as well as my head.
And what is the mission there?
To enrich the lives of those we serve with compassion, respect, excellence, and integrity. To make it simple, we help seniors solve the challenges of aging.
Oh boy, we can all use that. I mean, we all need a helping hand in that process. We're all going to be there, right? So we might as well look to you all and emulate what it is you're telling us and guiding us to do. So I appreciate that. So the other thing is to be a CEO of an organization like that, I know it's been 5 years. I'm not sure what your journey was previous to that, if you'd been kind of executive leadership roles, but where does that drive to lead come from? Where does it derive from? Can you think back on where it might started for you?
Yeah, I definitely think our culture is built on servant leadership. And not surprisingly, that's where my journey started. My journey to Brookdale actually probably began before I was even in high school. My mom had a pretty serious car accident before I became in high school. And I became a caregiver for her, helping her with all the activities of daily living. I'm really grateful that she recovered and lived a happy life thereafter. But after she did recover, my grandfather lost his sight. And so I moved in with him during college to take care of him while I was attending school. And what that really taught me was the value of serving others, the fact that we make a difference every day, and that what we choose to do truly matters.
That's wonderful. That had to be hard, like that young, doing both of those situations. That had to be hard. There's, it takes a certain type of person, really unique person to do that. Was there almost like this sense of either obligation or like something that you were taught, maybe even your mother taught you, like just way back when, about servant leadership or about like just helping those in need? Were you, for example, volunteering when you were a kid in homeless shelters or nursing homes? Like, I'm just kind of curious to know if it even goes even further, because kind of the why behind you even doing that, because it takes so much
courage.
It was
necessity. My mom had, she was in the first day of leaving my dad, and they were getting divorced, and she had 2 kids. And so it was just the 3 of us. If I didn't step up, there wasn't a solution. And so necessity is the mother of invention.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's amazing. And that, boy, and it created in you already this sense of service and servant mentality, servant leadership. And now you're at the place you're at now, which is just amazing. How has that journey been over this last, particularly a few years with COVID and, oh my gosh, racial unrest and just all the things that keep coming at us? How have you kind of managed to do that from a self-leadership perspective, keeping yourself kind of balanced and centered?
I think that keeping balanced and centered really goes back to our mission. And there's never been a day that I haven't been grateful for the opportunity that I have to lead because our mission is so important. And if you have a chance to meet our residents, you'll know that they are just some of the most amazing people, and they have lived lives full of experience and they have a ton of wisdom. And so the opportunity to serve them is just such an honor. I will say that when I stepped into the role, I had no idea about the challenges that we were going to have to navigate through, whether that was once in 100-year pandemic that really targeted sort of people who were elderly, which happened to be our customers. They live with us 24 hours a day, and it would make being in person so challenging. So we needed to reinvent our business model virtually overnight. Didn't expect that, but what I have been just so incredibly impressed by is the associates who have chosen to join Brookdale are united by a mission. They have been so passionate and so caring, and they have sacrificed so much for the benefit of our residents that inspires me every day. And that makes me want to give 150%. And that's quite honestly what almost everyone in Brookdale has done over the last couple of years.
Oh, wow. You know what I find to be, really impressive and just inspirational to me is often I speak to a lot of leaders, hundreds of leaders. This is the work I do, employee engagement, real, leadership and employee loyalty. And when I'm speaking to leaders, often it's like the teams are inspired by them, or like the leaders do this. And so it makes the team members want to do stuff. But it's interesting how you kind of turn it on its head and said, I'm inspired, or I continue to get energy by watching the pure service of the people that are in the business with the residents all the time. And I think that's what's just, it's inspiring for me to see that, because it says, like, again, that servant mentality, that kind of others focus that you have is the thing that drives you a lot. So that's very impressive. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. Well, so now that I think people can hear that there's so much heart there, heart behind the professionalism, heart behind, the focus to make sure to live out the mission and to continue to make sure that Brookdale is successful. Was there ever a time, and I'm looking for a specific story here, because often people share generalizations, but I really am looking for a story of maybe when you were not, in your mind, the leader with heart, the leader who would show care. And then in that moment, when after you're in it, the emotions that were going on, and what did you do to come out of it? What was that, either a secret sauce for you? And it doesn't mean that you came out of it and now you're some perfect leader. None of us are. It's just that you just became more enlightened. What was that story?
Absolutely. I'm going to go back. Oh gosh, it's been a long, long time. But I was the president of a publicly traded jewelry store chain, and I hadn't been with the company but just a few months. And my boss died of a heart attack in the shower one morning. And so the board that day decided that they would appoint me to be the CEO. So all of a sudden, I'm dealing with a company that has just lost its leader unexpectedly, and a board that had a new leader. And I will say that I think I did a really good job with the customers, with the associates, and with the vendors, but I didn't do a very good job managing the board. And I had prior experience working with the board, but I think that there is truly an art to sort of managing a board, because they should be focused on governance, they should be engaged, but there's definitely lanes that you should be in. Let's call them swim lanes. And so as a CEO, I could have done a better job of building consensus, of sort of keeping everyone in their swim lanes so that they wouldn't feel the need to sort of step in quite as much and sort of go from governance to management. And I think that is something that I do better now. I have learned to pull my board in. And so I regularly give them board updates. Every Friday, I sit down and draft a note to the board so they feel engaged. During the pandemic, I sent them a note every day, 7 days a week, so that they would know what was happening. I make it a point to reach out and to ask them for advice on areas that they may have more expertise that I don't. And I think that with wisdom and with experience comes a confidence to admit that you don't always have all the answers, and that it's not a sign of weakness to reach out and to ask for help or to solicit input and to try to build consensus. But if I go back close to 20 years ago, I don't think I knew that.
Wow. And I do you feel, does that ever kind of come back into the picture? So occasionally do you find like there's a trigger or some circumstance that puts you back into that, like, I'm not going to seek advice, or I'm going to try to just get this done with me and my team? Or do you ever see that come in? And if so, is there like a particular circumstance or scenario that makes it happen? Because that's what I find. The thing that kind of we struggle with it kind of intermittently for a long time. It's rarely that it goes completely away.
I think that when you're under great stress and when you're facing incredible challenge, you want to have control. And so you're like, I'm going to muscle through this. We're going to come together, and this is what we're going to go do. And I think that is exactly the time when you need to reach out and to resist that desire to control everything. And so the pandemic was a perfect test for me in that regard, because there were so many things that were literally outside of our control. And we couldn't control our circumstances, but we absolutely could control how we responded to them, how we worked together to overcome the challenges that we faced, and how we brought people along the way.
I love that. By the way, you're the first one ever to recall like a time when it was with their board. And I think it's beautiful because, I mean, boards do govern. So boards have a lot of impact on culture of the organization and everything. So the fact that you are taking that time to build that relationship with the board, you are first to mention that in my interview, which I think is great. Doesn't mean that's not what other people are doing. It's just that that was a focus of yours, or that was an area where you saw, an area of improvement. And I think it's great. And I think it's the awareness that you continually have is also a lesson for all of us to be holding a mirror up at ourselves, trying to see. I tend to be someone who puts the smiley face on and like, I'm just, I just get it done and I just get it done. And finally, what I find is that I can only do that for so long. And then I start to resent it. I resent my own doing it, and that no one just miraculously read my mind that I needed them or something, right? And so what I find is when I feel more fulfilled, let's say, and more balanced, either it's personal or professional, it's when I say to myself, yeah, I can't do this. I can't do all this. I'm going to need to go to someone else, this person who knows this or knows that. So I appreciate your going there with it and being vulnerable to say that too. So now we're at the time of the podcast where you get to ask me a question, any question that you want. I am more in the employee engagement, leadership, loyalty space. So this is a pretty big time now in our nation's history. So there's plenty. Just ask me whatever you like.
Well, the one thing that intrigues me, Heather, is that you have a relationship with Brookdale, and our mission only exists by serving residents. And so is there anything that you want to know about the services that we provide? Or is there anyone that you can think of that could benefit from someone to help them make the challenges of life easier?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't had that before either. Look at you. You're so unique in this interview this way.
I'm definitely one of a kind. I'm not sure it's a good kind.
You're definitely one of a kind. You are. I have worked with kind of in this space with some clients. I'm a speaker and author consultant. So I've worked with clients in this space before. So I probably don't have as many. I have a parent who did just pass away. And so I was estranged from him for a while. So if I would have known, maybe that could potentially been, some connection there of helping. But
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would just say, when we think about because this is me asking you a question again, I don't really want to, but I still think it is a question I want to ask. And that would be, as we think about any of the senior housing or senior care or what would be kind of your special sauce? I heard your mission, but is there something specifically that you do that maybe your competitors don't do that could help someone listening, like consider Brookdale as a place they may send their loved one.
I absolutely think that the secret sauce at Brookdale is really sort of the healthcare component that we bring to senior living. And if I can just step back and say, we operate almost 700 communities in over 40 states, and we operate everything in the continuum of care from independent living, which you can think about as housing, meals, engagement, that sort of thing, to assisted living, where if you maybe need help with the activities of daily living, whether it's bathing or dressing or maybe medication management, to memory care for those individuals who have dementia or Alzheimer's and they need to live in a safe, supported, engaging environment, to skilled nursing. And so what's different about Brookdale really is we have chosen to focus on healthcare and to use our platform to really help people age better. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is a pilot that we have called Health Plus. And what we have done is we've really helped our residents with care coordination. And we have them ensure that they're getting preventive care. That's something that many people don't do as well as they should. We're helping them manage their chronic conditions. We're helping make it easier for families because we kind of are the connective tissue between the resident and their physicians to make sure they get all the labs they should and the tests they should so they can live as healthy as they can for as long as possible. And we've seen wonderful results in terms of lower hospitalizations, fewer intense episodes. And so I really think that we have moved to where healthcare is going, and that is looking at the outcomes of healthcare and really understanding that it's what you do every day that influences your outcomes. It's like, do you have a healthy diet? Are you exercising? Are you lonely? Being lonely is almost as bad for you as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So just those things, I think, are the secret sauce of Brookdale.
That's awesome. How thoughtful, I can see how strategic you are and how thoughtful you are about just the resident experience and making sure that those that are coming, that those are sending their loved ones there to live or to be served right in the way that you do, can feel safe and secure in knowing it's the right place. Just being very strategic and thoughtful about that process, I think it's really helpful for those that are in leadership roles now. And they could be, people who are listening in are going to be from all types of sectors, all levels of the organization. There'll be CEOs of smaller companies, CEOs of larger companies, frontline managers, mid-level managers, all kinds, because they're just trying to figure out how they can lean in with more heart at work. What might be a couple pearls of wisdom you would leave them with as you think about your leadership journey and what served you best?
I think the thing that has served me best is really trying to focus on what matters most. And there is no question that regardless of the level that you are in an organization, there is more on your to-do list than you can possibly get done in a day. So be strategic and do the things that really matter. Be a problem solver. Make sure that you're offering a helping hand to the people that are beside you, beneath you, or above you in the organization, because we all want to be part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And so by connecting with people in that way, and by offering a helping hand, I think you'll actually help yourself more than you ever would have imagined.
Yeah, that outward focus again. I do think it's super helpful. If we keep looking at the issues that we have, our family has, I always call it getting stuck in the muck, and that's kind of what happens. If we start to turn that outward and say, how do we serve others? How is an outward focus? What can I do to serve and uplift other people and help them reach whatever that bigger mission is? The better we are with our focus. I really appreciate that. Wow, Cindy, that was good. That was some good stuff. I appreciate the vulnerability. For those who are listening right now, just on the show, please do share this far and wide, because we need to make sure that other leaders that are out there are hearing this and gathering some of the nuggets that I have learned, and I'm sure you have learned today too. Cindy, again, this has been a big pleasure. Again, from afar, I've looked at Brookdale. It's nice to know that you're at the head of the organization and really leading with such heart and servant mentality as well.
Heather, it's been such a pleasure. Can I close with just one additional question for you?
Sure.
So why do you do what you do? Everybody has a why. What's yours?
Yeah. Well, I would say the biggest thing is helping others who don't have a voice have a voice, mostly at work, inside the workplace. I'm known as the employee whisperer. So majority of my time is spent either interviewing employees in listening sessions or reading surveys, working with leaders to make sure they understand what their people want. So it's really about having other people have a voice, because I think early on, I didn't feel like I necessarily had a voice much early on. And it just instilled in me this desire to make sure that people had a voice, that their voice was heard, and that it was acted upon. And so that's the work I do at Employee Fanatics, the firm that I manage and that I own. So thank you.
That's an incredible reason. So you obviously picked the right career.
I did, but I didn't originally. I'm actually a licensed attorney and I don't practice anymore. So I didn't originally pick it, but it picked me out of pure necessity. And I was just merger environment and things weren't going well. No one was being heard. And so in the end, I felt called to be a voice for those who just either couldn't talk up or no one was listening to them. And it's kind of hard to ignore me. I have kind of a deep voice. I command things when I walk in. So I use that as a benefit for other people. And that's really my focus now. And I love talking to leaders like you because it really helps me to continue to learn and grow, help other people learn and grow, but just to see different angles of things, right? To just see the different, get just opening the shades, pulling it back and seeing what else is happening in the world. So this has been super helpful for me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and you have a way of just pulling people in where you just want to listen to everything you have to say.
I appreciate it. I always say that we all have our unique gifts, and that just happens to be mine. So I appreciate it. All right. Thanks everybody for listening to the Leadership at Heart podcast. Be well.